Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, everyone. This is Tammy Patzer, and today we are talking about real estate in 2021 and beyond with Kristen Conti. She has been a realtor since 1993, and she works side by side with her husband, Dave, who joined their business in 1995. She currently owns and operates Peacock Premier Properties in Englewood, Florida, where she and her team serve Charlotte and Sarasota Counties, as well as the island of Boca Grande in Lee County, all of which are on the southwest coast of Florida. While her passion now is in the development of her team and seeing them succeed, she and Dave still handle all of their bank clients personally. Their expertise and trustworthiness over the past 27 years has given them a business that runs on 91.5% by referral. That is something that they might call unprecedented, but welcome, Kristen.
Hello, Tammy. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, so for those of you, we're actually recording this, of course, on a beautiful Zoom video, and you'll be listening to this on my podcast. I really am excited to talk to you because we're living in these, I think we would call them historical times. And I wanted to get your take on some of the current events in the real estate market. So let's go ahead and talk about what you're seeing happening now and kind of looking, into the magic crystal ball of what may happen maybe 12 to 24 months from now.
That's an excellent question because you said it properly when you said we are in historic and unprecedented times. I think we all are probably a little bit tired of the word unprecedented right now because it seems like just when we think we've done all the unprecedented we can do, something else happens. So we almost need a new term for that. But yes, we are in historic times for certain. And what we are seeing right now is an absolute seller's market here in Southwest Florida. And because I am a part of a group called Default Industry Leaders that serves the entire country, I'm hearing that from my colleagues all over the country. Short of the areas that are, say, the big cities where people are trying to kind of escape from, we're seeing especially the rural areas, lots of growth and just an undersupply. So really economically, it's a supply and demand question. When you don't have enough supply to meet the demand, prices rise. Pretty much straight line economics. It's not rocket science, but we are definitely seeing such an influx. There's 1,000 people a day emigrating into Florida, and we simply don't have the supply to meet the demand of the people that want to be here for obvious reasons. If people wanted to come anyway, we were already at the forefront of what we call the silver tsunami, which was when the baby boomers were kind of coming into their retirement years. So if you combine that with now a shortage and with people fleeing from major cities where maybe they're shut down, they can't go to work, or our entire world has changed to a place where you can work from home. Now people decide, if I can work from home, why wouldn't I work from home with my toes in the sand and sunshine and a drink with a pretty umbrella in it, right? Because that's kind of the new world that's evolving. So it sounds wonderful. People say, oh, you must be so happy, or you're in this market where everything is so good. Well, no, I'm really not that happy, because what's happening is what happened back in 2004, 2005, where our prices are being pushed to such levels that our workers here locally, our local Englewood people who take care of all of our guests from other places, are being pushed out of affordable housing. and the prices are rising at a pace much faster than wages. And, we're going to have problems. So if you're coming from New York, where property values are extremely high and taxes are extremely high, then you buy a property in Florida and you think, you're in wonderful shape. But when you live here and work in Florida and you have to go out and try to compete for that same home, it's extremely difficult. So I probably have right now between 8 and 10 buyers that I'm working with personally that are either VA approved buyers, which to me is extremely important that we place our VA, our servicemen and women into homes. I think that should be an absolute, priority. We have FHA, people with low down payments, but that need to get into homes. And they absolutely cannot compete because they're competing with the people that are fleeing from other parts of the country that are in the position to pay cash. And as a seller, I understand as a seller, you want to sell your house for the highest possible price in the shortest period of time with the least amount of stress. So from a seller's perspective, I totally understand. My listings that I represent, if I get 3 offers and one is cash and one is FHA and one is VA, unless I have a seller who's a veteran, or maybe the buyer met the sellers and they just had this warm feeling about them. That happens maybe 20% of the time. There's some kind of emotional connection. But otherwise, the people are going to get beat out every time. And we have a property right now listed by our company, one of our agents, Debbie Harmon, and the buyers were beat out of a property. They're VA buyers, a couple with children. And 10 times they were beat out of buying a home because they were beat by other cash offers or conventional offers. And the kids are trying to find a home and it's impossible. And then what you have happening, I know I'm saying a lot all at once, so I'll stop and take a breath in a minute, but I'm very passionate about this subject. Then what happens is you will get these VA buyers that will come in at a higher price because they want to beat out the cash buyers. They want a chance. And then the properties don't appraise. So, we have that to deal with on top. So we're starting to have a very complicated, complex market. And I think that a lot of people just don't really realize, the consumers don't really realize what's going on behind the scenes.
Wow, that is a lot of information. And I've lived here in this area since the 80s, so I've seen a lot of up and downs in the market. But you're right. You do have these people who have the veterans, the FHA, and then of course, if somebody has cash, they just go right to the top of the line. So the people who are buying these houses now, and the property values have skyrocketed just in the last year, even though here we are in the middle of a pandemic where you would think that people would just stay home, but they're not. They're moving. Like you said, there's this exodus from the cities. And, we have to admit, we live in a very nice area.
Yes, we do.
Then, over the years, I remember when they used to call Englewood, I think it was the best kept secret. That was one of the slogans because of the fact that, it's very nice and temperate. And I even remember when I moved here in the 80s, I was told by my boss when I went in to get a raise, ask for a raise, I shouldn't expect to get a raise because I was being paid in sunshine. So
that pays the bills, right? Sunshine pays the bills.
What you said, the people who work here, live here, are can't afford it. I've actually been trying to find a rental, and the rents are, you could buy a home if you could buy it for probably half of what you would pay in rent. But, and it's crazy because there's so many fake things also online that I've ran into in my research. where people, they'll put a really low price on the rent. I'm not really sure what the scam is, because I haven't ever gone that far with those. But so all of these people are coming, and again, it's not just Florida. They're going all over the United States. It's a seller's market, and people are taking advantage of the lowest interest rates that I think I've ever seen in my lifetime. So what's going to happen with these people in the next 12 to 24 months? I know right now that, I don't know, maybe you can answer this question, Kristen. Is there an artificial low on foreclosures right now because of the moratoriums? What's actually happening in that arena of foreclosure moratoriums?
Tammy, I love how you seem to read my mind, because the questions that you ask are the questions that I want to answer. So thank you for bringing that up. So yes, I may be a slightly dissenting voice from some of what is being said and heard in the real estate world, but I feel like it's based on a lot of experience. And because I spend my time, as I previously said, with my colleagues at Default Industry Leaders, and we all spend a lot of time talking to banks, hedge funds, servicers, people that are handling the collection of mortgages. We see what's going on behind the scenes. So right now in Florida, just to give you a statistic, and this is something you can Google, so I don't expect anyone to take my word as the fact. This is my opinion. However, the fact is, in Florida right now, 51% of the mortgages and rentals are behind by 90 days or more. Okay. So, and that's 90 days is probably the short version. So what you're finding is the moratorium is artificially keeping down the number of foreclosures or evictions that would be filed, because when you have a moratorium, you can't move forward, which leads us to the next part of our conversation, which we'll probably get to in a little bit. And again, I want to state this very clearly. None of this is political for me. This is all about business and the economy and how we move forward. We have a newly elected president. I fully support the office of the president. There will be policies put in place that are very different than what we've had in the past. And I think almost maybe an overcorrection to what we had in the past, because it appears, and again, Google this information, it appears that the moratorium is going to be extended until September 30th of 2021. That is one of the first things our president is intending to put in place. So there are some people that are going to say, well, that's fantastic. That's going to give me a chance to get back on my feet. However, there are going to be other people, and I watched it happen in the last downturn, that say, woohoo, I don't have to pay my mortgage. I don't have to pay my rent. And they're going to kick back and they're going to spend their money on other things. They're not really the people that need the help. It's people that are going to take advantage of the system. And then what happens is your landlords don't get paid. So now they need a bailout, because, you buy investment property to rent it and to make a profit, right? You don't buy it to not be paid for 2 years, So what's happening is a lot of that, like you said, that artificial behind the scenes stuff that's going on that people are really not paying attention to, because they're so afraid if they don't jump on the bus right now, prices here are going to get so high that they're going to get priced out. That very act of people, so many people jumping on the bus, is driving the prices up, which is creating, a market that is very complicated. On the surface, it looks good, but underneath, there's some underpinnings that are concerning.
So right now, things are, like you said, not as they might seem. Maybe
Yes,
that's a good thing because
that's a good way to say it. Yes.
we don't know, but I do remember back in 2007 to 2012 or whatever, when everything imploded and all the, like, for example, my beautiful property lost 80% of its value over those years. And now, of course, I haven't looked to see what it's worth now, but I do know what happens when properties get overinflated and then they crash, and it makes it very difficult to, hang on to that property. I lucked out and was able to keep my property, but I fought very hard. But so with that, you kind of said that some people that, they're acting a little bit, it sounds like, out of fear. It's like, if I don't buy now, I'll never be able to get it. And so that may not be the right reason. What if somebody is wanting to buy real estate right now? What are the right reasons to be buying and investing in real estate during this time?
That is an awesome question, and a question that I pretty much address in my buyer interviews. I have a pretty extensive buyer interview process with people when they call me. Sometimes they don't like it at first because people call and they're sitting in front of the house and they want the price and they want me to run over with my magic key ring that has every key in the city and open the door and let them see it right now. And they don't want to answer the questions that need to be answered to determine if that house is the right fit for them. But once I show them that I really do know what I'm doing and the questions that I'm asking are to benefit them, they take heed. And the bottom line right now is what you said earlier. The interest rates right now are at historic lows. So here we go again with historic and unprecedented, right? Lowest rates we've seen in the history of our country in terms of ability to buy a home. So what that means is the buying power of the buyers has expanded, because obviously the lower your interest rate, the more buying power you have. So most people buy by monthly payment, okay? The average consumer, I'm not talking about people that are retired with a lot of money, they're going to pay cash. I get that. But the average person, I'll take myself as an example. When I buy a car, I have certain things I'm looking for in that car. It has to have rear air conditioning for my customers. It has to have a sunroof. It has to have a trunk that goes up and down so I can throw my signs in and out of it, whatever I want. But I know I don't want to spend more than $600 a month on a car payment, as an example. So there's no reason for me to go look at cars that are more than $600 a month because my budget is $600 a month. So people do the same thing. If they're renting, like you said, you're paying $1,500 for rent. That same house that you're paying $1,500 for rent for, you could probably pay $12 and own it. Okay. So if you are a family that needs to have a home, you're married, you're raising children, whatever it is you're doing, if you need a home, it's a good time to buy a home. You shouldn't buy a home because you're fearful you're not going to be able to afford it in 5 years. You know what I mean? That's not a motivator that, and people will call me and say that, well, if I don't buy right now, I'm afraid I'm going to get priced out. And I'm a salesperson, so I should say, hey, yeah, you're absolutely right. You should buy right now. You might get priced out. But because I'm a person of integrity and trustworthiness, and I've gone through this before, and I've seen a lot of people get hurt, I say, okay, let's back this up a little bit. Let's talk about it. Do you have a use for the property? Would you consider renting it while you wait? Like, let's talk about how you're going to carry it. What happens if the house loses value? Oh, that's a possibility. Yeah, that's a real possibility. So you have to look at the whole picture, and you have to decide, am I buying because this is a need and something I can afford on the monthly basis, no matter what happens? Then it's probably a great time to buy. If you're stretching yourself or you're making a decision, as you so eloquently said, out of fear, that is not a place to be making a decision from. What if you have cash in the stock market and you're feeling like maybe the stock market's going to change? Maybe you want to pull your money out of the stock market, put it into bricks and mortar. A lot of people are more comfortable seeing their asset physically rather than seeing their paper in the stock market. One day it's worth this and the next day it bottoms out. At least if you can see the property, you can rent it and you can, there's something physical to that. So maybe that's a good reason to buy. So I kind of go through that conversation with each customer to determine, is this a good financial move for you? And explain to them that because the rates are so low, the prices are higher. But if the rates went up to 5%, then the property value would, you know what I mean? So it kind of evens out. So if you're buying for monthly payment and you can afford the monthly payment, you're okay. But if you're buying because you think the properties are going to go up and you can use your house as an ATM, then that's the wrong reason to buy, because you may not have that equity build. You know what I mean? You may be buying at the top, which is fine if you can afford it, but not if you don't have a backup plan. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's funny that you asked that, because I was going to go, that makes sense. It does make sense, because in real estate, again, even though historically, again, there's that word, I think real estate is like something like the return is like 6% or something.
Yes, that's a reasonable request.
Over time, but it does go up and down. For example, like I said, my property value lost 80% and it's slowly going back up. But again, I'm in it for the long haul.
Yes.
My intention was never that I was going to buy it and then sell it. And so I'm not worried, because it's where I live. It's my home. So right now, we're talking about prices. It's a seller's market, which means that prices are high.
Correct.
And rates are low. So you can actually buy probably a little bit more house.
Yes.
Than you could before. There's a foreclosure moratorium right now that I think ends technically in January, but it looks like it may be moved to September 2021, if that's what happens, because again, we're literally changing.
Exactly. We're in the middle of the changeover.
Transitioning from one president to another with all kinds of different policies. So for people who are, it sounds like there's all kinds of different reasons to buy. Like you said, there's the investor, and then there's the home buyer, the first-time home buyer, or the buyer who just wants a home. How should they be looking at the moratoriums and things like that? Is that anything that they even need to worry about if they're actually buying right now?
Yes, another good question. You're full of perfect entries for me today. Okay, so if you're a home buyer who needs a home, I would say absolutely buy right now. My opinion, again, I like to say always my opinion, new construction is really where it's at right now. Very difficult for resale to compare, because the resale prices have been driven so high that you really can build for the same price. And that's another problem we're having in the market right now is our sellers. I have an expression, it might sound a little bit off for me because I tend to kind of be very professional. But my accountant used to say to me, Kristen, a pig gets fat and a hog gets slaughtered. And what's happening is people are thinking that they have these homes that are old, that are in need of new roofs, are in need of updated electrical panels, are in need of things that would allow a buyer to even finance them and get insurance, because that's a whole nother conversation we haven't had, is the changes in insurance and the fraudulent things that have happened in the insurance world that have caused our rates to go up. So we have to look at that, at flood zones. There's so many things to think about when you buy a home. So the question becomes, should I buy new construction? Well, then you go there and you go back to your VA buyers. VA buyers cannot buy build from scratch. They can buy a spec, but they can't buy build from scratch typically. So there's things you need to know about that. So so that becomes another complication. So I would say yes, if you need to buy a home, or if you're a buyer right now, expect to write a lot of offers and not get the first house you want. So I counsel my buyers, do not get emotionally attached, which is a very hard thing not to do, because if you fall in love with a home, you almost can't help it. But I at least try to set a realistic expectation for them that they may have to write a few offers before they find the right home, but I'm going to stick with them until they do. So yes, if you are retiring, yes, absolutely, buy a home. You've worked all your life. If you can afford it, buy a home. If you're a vacation person, you want to buy a vacation home. What a fabulous place to buy a vacation home. Absolutely. I would put us up against any place in the United States. Do it. No state income tax, sun, fun, water, beaches. We have it all. But if you are an investor, and I still, believe it or not, get a lot of investor calls because of the years I spent in the foreclosure world, they come out of the woodwork. They think they're going to buy properties at, 60 cents on the dollar. And it's like, I don't know what rock you just crawled out from under, but I don't have any of that. Or they say, well, I want to buy a, 20 unit apartment building and I want a cap rate of, 12%. I can't get you back a cap rate of 12% in a market. It's not feasible. So I would say investors, the smart ones are waiting. They're banking their cash and they're watching, because there is going to be an opportunity for a lot of wealth creation over the next 24 to 36 months, I think, is a realistic look. We've already been in a bull market much longer than usual. There's always some kind of turn, and we haven't seen one in a long time. So I think one is forthcoming. If I had a crystal ball, I'd be all set, but I don't. But I do know the indicators, and I think we're heading there.
So if you are somebody who has cash to buy a home and you're, let's say, retired or just want a home, now is a good time to buy.
Great time.
And if you're someone first-time home buyer, if you can buy a home, now is a good time. Investors should just cash it up and wait.
That's what I'm suggesting to my investor clients.
Well, it makes sense to me, because investors, like you said, typically are looking for something that is affordable, that they can put a little bit of money into, maybe, and fix it up, rent it out, or resell it. And I mean, I've seen some houses in Englewood, my dad would call them cracker boxes.
Yeah, little cracker houses. Yeah.
That's what he always called them. We lived in one when I was a little teeny kid. He called the house we lived in, because it was like a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. And it literally was like a box, very small. But I've seen those. And in Englewood, I'm like amazed at how much those little houses are going for, because it's way more than, back what they were probably brand new, or $10,000 when they were built, and now they're a couple $100,000. And I think it must just be the location more than anything. But well, that's really good, I think, in terms of advice, because like you said, you don't know, but you certainly have the experience to understand the indicators of what the market is going to do. And like you said, right now across the country, people are trying to move out of the big cities, because we do live in a world where we can work from anywhere. Mm-hmm. Why not work from paradise? If
absolutely
you are absolutely in a situation. Now, you're actually you've mentioned the default industry leaders a couple times, and I understand that you're working on a book. with other members of this group. Can you tell me a little bit about what the book is all about and why you're committing to such a project?
Well, actually, yes, I can. So I will speak personally first and say that I love to write. I have a very creative side. I love to write and I love to do photography. So something on my bucket list, if that's what you want to call it, has always been writing. And I've thought about what stories I would tell and how I would tell them. And I always thought it would be real estate related because my husband and I have had just such an incredible journey through the real estate business. We've met people from all over the world. We've just had a really great ride. But excuse me, there's my phone that I thought I put on silent, everybody. So anyway, when the pandemic started and we went under the first stay-at-home order here in Florida, which was April 1st, my husband and I started a YouTube series. And we started kind of just having conversations together about what it was like to be in real estate during a pandemic and just funny things that were happening, day by day. We were on a diet. We were, there was all this craziness going on and people started to really enjoy it and come and watch us every day. It kind of gave them a diversion from the craziness. But I was really starting to feel like an island because I'm a collaborator. I love team synergy. I love to get input from people and feedback. I like to give it. And I like that whole iron sharpening iron kind of way of doing business. So I reached back to the people that have been the most supportive, the most knowledgeable, the most cutting edge, the most capable that I've met in the default industry space. And that was my group from Default Industry Leaders. And I'm a board member with that group now. And we kind of always have helped each other to kind of follow the market trend. And I call us storm chasers a little bit. We're sort of like market chasers because we love the study. We love to project. We love to forecast. So I reached out to the group and said, would you guys like to maybe have a Zoom meeting and talk about what is going on in the industry? And at that point, Zoom was not what Zoom is right now. I mean, you and I are Zooming. Everybody's Zooming now. But at that point, it was kind of not as people were Zooming, but not like Zooming. Like now everybody's a Zoomer. So, and I'm not the tech wonder of the world. So I was like, what the heck? I'm going to throw it out there. And we had this incredible meeting and it was so helpful to just look at each other from across the country and be like, tell me what's happening. Tell me how can I help you? How can we work together? And before you knew it, we started having this conversation about preparing people for the next wave, for all the things they didn't know the last time. We were so unprepared for how quickly the bottom fell out. And then you had buyers that were trying to buy these properties that went into foreclosure and didn't understand, how the process worked. We were like, how can we position ourselves to be the market experts so that our clients, our bank clients, our hedge funds, our servicers know that we know our stuff, but also that the consumer knows if they call us for help and guidance, they're going to get answers and they're going to get help instead of dealing with the old school REO brokers that didn't answer their phone, didn't care if, they knew they were going to sell the listing with or without you. We don't want to be those people. We want to be the educators. We want to put people together with great opportunities. So that was kind of the reason we decided to do the book. And the idea of doing it as a collaborative effort, took some pressure off of being responsible for the whole project, but also added a lot of spice and a lot of flavor because you have varying opinions, varying parts of the country. And we did it in a very, actually, you and I talked about this and you gave me this term that I hadn't heard of, which was edutainment. So we're doing it as an education tool, but also in a very entertaining way because we're telling you the stories from the field. Things we've actually experienced and what it's like to be a REO broker, kind of a day in the life of an REO broker. and what it's really all about, for another term for you, from cradle to grave, from the beginning to the end. This is what the process looks like. And if you want to be a buyer of these types of properties, how to prepare, how to get ready, how to get your documentation in order, and how to embrace what we tell you to do, as opposed to, I had a lot of people that were argumentative, especially investors. Well, I don't understand why the bank doesn't want to get rid of this property. You know what I mean? That's not going to get you anywhere. You know what I mean? You need to follow the process, because it's a process. It's a process that's overseen by oftentimes shareholders, government entities. They're not just going to get rid of the house to make you happy. There has to be, there's a system, there's reasons for everything. So we wanted to really be the voice for our industry, but take that a step further and, merge the consumer with the bank entities. So that's what the book is going to be all about.
Well, it sounds interesting to me, because I know that not only are you going to have stories, but you're also, like you said, you're educating people about the process. You're entertaining them with your stories. And of course, when you mix education and entertainment, it has to be what I would call a fun read. And again, all of these different people and their perspectives from all over the United States, that's really interesting, because I think a lot of people, they don't, like you said, they don't really understand how that industry works. They don't have that experience. So before I let you go, how can people get in contact with you if they have some questions?
Well, they can get a hold of me in a myriad of ways. If you Google me, I come up an awful lot, but they can do a couple of things. So the most direct route is my cell phone, and you can call me or text me. I will always get back to you. It may not be in a minute, because I have a lot on my plate and I have a team as well. But my number direct is 941-286-8486. You can also email me. Very simple, Kristen, Kristen, at Kristen, Kristen, Conti, Conti.com. That's the Italian version of Conti, not the French, for anybody that wants to know. That's an question I'm often asked. You can also visit us at Facebook at Peacock Premier Properties, or the website, www.peacockpremierproperties.com. And please do not put an E at the end of Premier. A lot of people want to do that, and then they can't find me. But really, if you type my name in, because I've been in the industry a long time, I'm super easy to find. If you forget everything I just said, go to Google, type in Kristen Conti, and there I shall be.
Well, the fun thing about you, Kristen, especially with Peacock Premier Properties, is that you've really embraced using the mascot Peacock. By the way, what is the name of your mascot, Peacock?
Well, Tammy, boy, you're firing on all cylinders today, because you asked me a question at the absolute perfect time, because I'm in the middle right now of a campaign that I'm so excited about. I can't divulge it all, but let's say it's going to involve passion. It's going to involve peacocks, and it's going to be about spreading community love, and Englewood being the light to the rest of a hurting world. So we have a big, big thing happening. I've got tons of community support, and it's going to be about passion. And our team, our company, has gone ahead and trademarked the term, and I'm going to announce it here for the first time: passion, the passion of Englewood. So our mascot was actually named, for all of you that want to know more about peacocks, peacock is a male peacock. So the ones that are beautiful and colorful are the males, which, damn it, that happens in the bird world. And then we have peahens, which are the females. Not so pretty, but we can do whatever we want because it's our company. So we had a naming contest in Englewood, and we had 400 people weigh in on what they thought the mascot should be named. So our original mascot was Pavoni. That was the name that was chosen, which is Italian for peacock. We loved it. It had to begin with a P. That was our thing. Everything was going to be about peas. And then we decided that Pavoni was very lonely, so he needed a mate. So we put out a peahen, and she was named Passion. And somehow that just resonated for me because we are all about passion, our team. We're passionate about Englewood. We're passionate about people. We're passionate about making a difference in the world, in our community. So that just really rang for me. And that's why we decided to trademark it. And we are going to be really blasting it off in a very special way, just in time for Valentine's Day, because what a wonderful time to spread love. And a different kind of love, not a romantic love, but a love for each other and mankind and community. So we are super excited. And that's the story of Passion and Pavoni.
Wow. And that is exciting because I knew about the first peacock because I put a name out and I don't remember what it was, but I missed the second round of for the peahen, for the Passion peacock. Well, that's really exciting. Yeah. And I really appreciate the discussion today because you kind of outlined all the different things that we should be thinking about if we're interested in real estate. So, Kristen, before I let you go, is there anything you'd like to add?
Boy, you know me, I could talk for 5 more hours, but I guess the most important thing I want to say is don't be caught up in what I call the herd mentality. Okay. So when everybody is jumping in, which is exactly what happened in 2004, 2005, it looked good to everybody. So the herd mentality kind of says, let me jump in, the water's warm. And this is a time that you need to be a bit of the fish that swims upstream and just be educated. I'm not saying it isn't a good time for you, but make sure you educate yourself. Don't be motivated by fear and take calculated risk. Risk is a great thing. You don't get ahead in life without risk, but make it calculated risk. And that's spoken from somebody who took some devastating losses in the last downturn. And I was pretty educated and I still took some devastating losses. And I don't want to see people have to go through that. And also do not bury your head in the sand. That was the other thing that happened in the last downturn. It was shameful. You know, if you were behind in your mortgage, you were behind in your rent, people didn't want to talk about it. It was taboo. Don't do that. You know, reach out for help. We live in a different world. We're all in this together. So whether it's me, whether it's your own realtor, whether it's someone else, seek help. Don't wait until your house is at risk, and put yourself through that, because there are ways the banks want to work with you. They do. They didn't the last time, but they've woken up too.
Well,
and we're in a different time and place. So just reach out for help.
Well, that's really good advice, Kristen. So everyone, again, we've learned a lot about the current real estate market and, of course, looking into the future a little bit about what we might see. So thank you so much, Kristen.
Thank you, Tammy. You're always a wonderful interviewer, and I'm lucky that you're my neighbor right around the corner. How we found each other during the pandemic is amazing. Didn't know each other before, and now we've become the best of friends. So it's awesome.
Yeah, that is a phenomenal thing about how, with the use of the internet, you can actually meet people right in your own hometown. So
Absolutely, it's awesome.
Thank you, Kristen Conti with Peacock Premier Properties in Englewood, Florida. Everyone, this is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.